Sean Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you, and what we're going to do today is simply a juice off. Good old-fashioned juice off. We're going to compare two different vertical auger style juicers and juice 2.5 pounds of the baby carrots in each one. Now these two juicers here are the Omega VRT400 and the Kuvings Silent Juicer Model SE. So while both these look very similar, they're actually a fair bit different. So besides just doing the juice off, I'm going to show you guys the differences between them for those of you guys that are curious. So first we got the pushers. As you guys can see, the pushers are a little bit different. The vert pusher is actually a lot bigger than the Kuvings pusher. That being said, on the vertical single auger style juicers, I do not recommend actually that you use a pusher. If you are using the pusher, you're probably pushing things in too quickly. The next part we have here is the main top here, and they both kind of rotate off. As you guys can see, these tops are fairly similar. The Omega Vert top's a little bit taller overall, and the feed chute sizes look to be about very similar, although on the Kuvings model, the feed chute actually opens up to be a lot larger on the bottom. Other than that, the only difference is that on the Kuvings model, this top piece comes off, and on the Omega Vert, it's one piece, so that will not come off for you. The next is the heart of the machine, and it's the auger. Let's go ahead and pull these augers out for you guys so I could show them to you. Here's the auger on the Omega Vert and the auger on the Kuvings. At first glance, they may look fairly similar. They're about the same height. They both have little gearing teeth on the bottom. The gearing teeth on the bottom actually drive the automatic wiping blade that I'll show you in a minute. But the other main thing about this is actually the cut on the bite. So the bite is like, you have a large bite, as an adult person, and a child has a smaller bite. The bite on the auger is this little section right here. This is where the produce goes in, and then this auger spins around and takes a bite or a chunk off the produce, and then the chunk is then in this little area here, and it gets compressed and compressed in a smaller and smaller tight space, and literally the juice is squeezed out of it. So these are called slow juicers. So the bite on the Omega Vert is this little V, which is actually fairly large. And if we look on the Kuvings, let's compare it side by side, it's actually more of a U, and it's a fair bit smaller. So what this means is that it may take you a little bit longer to juice in the Kuvings because it's actually not accepting the produce as quickly. Other than that, for all practical purposes, they're very similar. The Omega actually has a little indentation here on the bottom where pulp may get stuck, whereas the Kuvings actually does not have this. So I kind of like that on the Kuvings. Let's see, the next part is the juicing screen. Why don't we take this out at the same time? The juicing screen and the automatic wiping blade. The automatic wiping blade on the Omega actually has 2 blades, one on either side, and on the Kuvings there's actually 3. So what this means is that you're going to have to clean the wiping blades a little bit more, but it also may be more effective in wiping things down. Also, these wiping blades actually can be removed from the plastic housing, and you should do this to, clean underneath them because, juice can get underneath there and kind of get funky over time. The next part is the actual juicing screen. So let's go ahead and take the wiping blades off so we guys can show you the juicing screen. As you guys can see, the juicing screens are fairly similar, but a little bit different. I'm particularly looking at the hole size, which seems to be fairly similar, but also the screen area. So the screen area on the Kuvings is a little bit more. It actually has more screen area here at the top than the Omega Vert. Just looking at the screens, there's definitely more nooks and crannies on the Kuvings screen, because up underneath here there's all these little nooks and crannies that may be harder to clean once you're taking it apart. Now both these screens and the auger is made out of the GE Ultimate material. That's 8 times harder plastic than augers and screens on previous model juicers. So I do like that a lot. Finally, we have the juicing bowl on the Omega Vert. You can literally just lift the bowl off, which is really nice. This is the latest version of the Vert where they have actually done this. On the Kuvings, actually you do need to rotate the bowl to get it off. And as you guys can see, the bowls are fairly similar, but once again, a little bit different. If we put the Omega Vert bowl down on top of the Kuvings bowl is just, a tad percent bigger, maybe 10% larger. If you can see on here, these both have the flaps. So this has a little juice flap that'll keep the juice and the liquid inside the machine. And it looks like the Omega Vert will go up to 300 milliliters in there. And on the Kuvings, it also has that flap here, which is kind of nice. And this flap is actually removable. On the Omega Vert, it is actually not. And on this one, it actually goes with the 500 milliliters, which is actually a fair bit larger. Another thing I want you guys to notice is that on the Omega Vert, there's a little post in the middle here. What this post does, it allows the juice not to back up and go through the little bushing here and get on top of the motor housing. Plus, Omega over time has improved this bushing so that it may leak very little. On the Kuvings model here, we don't have that same kind of standoff thing. This is actually really low, so that may mean if this bushing is not working optimally, juice may seep through here onto the top of the motor body. Now, the only other main component of the slow juicers here is this little flap here. Now, both juicers have this. There's a little yellow flap on the Omega Vert, and here's the gray flap on the Kuvings. Now, it's the job of the flaps here to actually keep the produce in the machine to get fully juiced before it's ejected. And when it does this, the juice pulp needs to make a right angle turn. So the juice pulp is going down, then it needs to go this ways and come out. And this is where a lot of the challenges occur with the vertical single auger machines, especially if you're juicing things like celery, kale, collards, Swiss chard, and things with stalks that have strings in it. So we all know those celery strings, those doggone celery strings get stuck in your teeth when you're trying to eat it, then you need to use a dental floss. Well, besides getting it stuck in our teeth, those very strings will also get stuck in the juicer, as well as other hard fibrous, fiber, such as like maybe even ginger. Ginger has a nice and real stringy consistency as well. And so that's why it's very important to pre-cut things like celery and ginger and kale, collard greens, and Swiss chard into 1/8 inch pieces before feeding into the machine. You want to be sure to check my video called Omega Vert Best Practices, which should actually be entitled Vertical Slow Juicer Best Practices, to ensure you're using your slow juicer the best way possible to minimize the clogging, minimize the jamming, which will in turn also minimize the amount of pulp coming out in your juice. That being said, you always want to remember to put this pulp flap in when the juicer is going to be in operation, and you're only going to take this out for cleaning. So next we're going to go ahead and reassemble both machines. It's fairly easy to reassemble both machines. The Omega Vert is just a little bit easier. With the Kuvings here, we have to actually put this in, and looks like it's stuck in pretty good. And then we're going to have to actually put this on, and we're going to match up this little arrow with the little open and lock symbol here, and then we're going to turn it to lock. Next, we're going to take the wiping blade, put that on the juicing screen, and then there's a little red dot here. We're going to line up with a red dot here. On the Omega Vert, same thing. We're going to take the juicing screen, put that on the screen. We're going to take the little white arrow, match this up with the white arrow there. It's going to go into place. Next, we're going to simply take the auger in both machines, drop that in the machine, and you may have to kind of get it seated down in there. Same with the auger on the Kuvings. Very simple and very easy. Next, we're going to take the lids. The lids have a little red dot that we're going to match with the red dot. And then we're going to turn this and lock it into place. Definitely all ready to go. With the Omega Vert, there's a little white arrow there. We're going to match it with this white arrow, turn it, lock it into place, and we're ready to go. Now, if you turn the machine on and it comes on, you've assembled it properly. If you turn the machine on and it doesn't come on, then you have not assembled the machine properly, because there is a built-in safety switch that will not allow the machine to come on unless it's assembled properly. So both these juicers are set up to juice vegetables, including hard vegetables and leafy green vegetables, as well as fruits. So this is an all-purpose juicer that tends to juice most things fairly well. Every kind of juicer will do a certain task better than another kind of juicer. So for example, if you're a lady, you might have 10 pairs of shoes in your closet. One's to match with certain outfits, one's to go jogging in, one might be to go to a wedding or formal events, one might be a pair of sandals. And you guys know that each pair of shoes have a certain task, and each different style juicer, whether it's a vertical auger juicer, whether it's a horizontal auger juicer, whether it's a centrifugal ejection or a twin gear juicer, each style of juicer tends to juice things better. Much like you could wear some beach sandals to a wedding, but you'd get a lot of funny looks. You could use the vertical juicers to juice straight leafy greens, and it will work, but it's not optimal. So I want you guys always to select the juice that's going to be best for your specific needs and what you specifically want to juice. In general, I like the vertical single auger juicers because they basically do fairly well on a wide range of produce items as long as you're making a mixed juice and mixing things up. You're going to put a little vegetables, you're going to put a little leafy green vegetables, then you're going to put a little fruit. These machines work great. If you want to juice just leafy greens, these are maybe not the best machine to do that. I have noticed the Omega VRT actually particularly is fairly good at juicing fruit if you want to juice mostly fruit. So be sure to check my other videos. For over 350 videos I have that explain and show me juicing different items in the juicer so that you guys can see what happens when you do it. So I really like that Kuvings has the mincing attachment, which will also allow you to make banana sorbet or raw food ice cream out of bananas and things like nut butters. And they've been frankly trying to go the extra mile to make their machine more attractive because the one out of the gate first was the Omega VRT, and this is the original design that was out on the vertical auger juicers, and frankly many companies are playing catch up. Another thing that's really cool that Kuvings has done is they've come out with this device here. And this device, I think every juicing company should actually have. What it is, it's actually a screen cleaner. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the screen out, and then you just put this screen cleaner on it, and then you just brush it like that, and it cleans your screen. So no longer do you have to get in with the oversized toothbrush that's included with the juicers to clean your screen. So I do like that a lot. Another feature that the Kuvings has, actually that the Omega VRT doesn't, and I think another feature that every juicer should come with, is a little recipe book. It's not hard to put together a little recipe book because when people buy juicers, they don't know what kind of recipes to make. I mean, I know what kind of recipes to make, but most people don't know, so they need some guidance. So this is a nice little, almost 70-page recipe book, or 76-page recipe book, with all different kinds of juice recipes in there to help get you started, help get some juices flowing literally in your glass so that you could change your life and get healthier. So I like that Kuvings has some of these attachments. All the attachments and all the gadgets and gizmos are nice, but to me, it all comes down to performance. So next, we're going to go ahead and divide the organic Bunny Love carrots into two separate bowls, each about 2.5 pounds each. Now, I like the Bunny Love brand organic baby carrots because they're pre-washed and they're really easy to juice. Because if you get regular carrots, they might be dirty. You got to cut the tops off, maybe even the bottoms off, and it can slow you down a little bit. So I like juicing what's really easy. The baby carrots are actually fairly easy to juice. The secret tip here is if you go to the Costco, most Costco's will sell the organic baby carrots and actually organic full-size carrots for the lowest price that I found. Another thing is that the Bunny Love carrots tend to be a very sweet carrot. So I mean, I've juiced carrots that taste like dirt. The Bunny Love carrots to me actually taste quite sweet and actually quite delicious when they're juiced. Almost like a rich milk taste for me anyways. Now one of the things you might be thinking is, John, man, you're juicing all those carrots, man. Isn't carrots high in sugar, especially when you remove the fiber? Well, absolutely. Carrots have actually more sugar than celery or cucumbers. But in perspective, what's healthier, right? A soda or some carrot juice, right? I mean, if you're saying carrots have sugar in it, but you're drinking a soda, man, the soda has far more sugar in it. Plus, more importantly, it doesn't have the phytonutrients, phytochemicals, vitamins, and minerals that the carrot juice will. So I always want you to consider, what you're doing. And, if you don't feel all right with carrots, that's all right. Don't juice carrots. Juice celery and cucumbers and leafy greens. I mean, I did that yesterday. I like to always rotate foods in my diet because the one nutrient you need the most is the nutrient you're not getting. And guess what? That's in the food you're not getting and the food that you're avoiding because it's high in sugar or whatever the reason is. So I always like to include a little bit of all different kinds of produce all throughout the year in my diet. So we just about got all these carrots divvied up. I'm going to put the last handful in the glass pitcher here, and let's take a look at the weights here. This one looks like it's 2.658 pounds, and let's go to the other side now. 2.658. All right, they're perfectly weighed out. Now what we're gonna get to do is juice in both the machines. So how we're simply gonna do this is we're actually gonna turn both machines on at the same time. I'm gonna grab one handful of carrots and put it through each machine and let them work and process the carrots. As you guys can see, I actually have two collection cups here, and the two collection cups actually have strainers on them. So we're going to actually, at the same time the machine's making the juice, we're going to see which juicer is actually creating more pulp in the juice, because I know for many of you guys, you may not like pulp, so we're going to find out which juicer makes more pulp in the juice. So let's go ahead and turn the Kuvings on, turn the Vert on. Now they're about the same sound level, and they both run at 80 RPMs. We're going to go ahead and take a handful of carrots and put it in each machine. As you saw, the Kuvings spit some carrots out at me. Now we got both machines. We put some carrots in the Kuvings and it stopped. So when this happens, you're going to press stop. You're going to go reverse for a second, go backwards, and then go forwards again until it starts running again. As you guys can see, we don't have any juice coming out of the machines at present time because we do have the taps actually in place. So we're letting the juice back up inside the machine. Let's go ahead and take another handful of carrots and put it inside each machine. Both machines seem to be handling the carrots quite well. Once again, another handful. Both machines are kicking out the pulp and collecting juice inside the machine. So far, so good. There are not any leaks. Alright, so I'm continuing to juice in both machines, and as you guys can see, the level of the juice is getting up. I've already juiced about over 200 milliliters in the Kuvings and in the Omega Vert. Let's see here, it looks like I've juiced already up to almost 150 milliliters in the Omega Vert. Let's go ahead and continue to juice in both machines. As you guys can see, the pulp is coming out. It's making that right angle fine because once again, this is only carrots. Carrots are something that's really good to juice in the vertical auger juicers to help clean that path out, to help get things flowing down the little right angle as it's coming out. And I think we're gonna juice just a few more handfuls of carrots before we open the floodgates and let all the juice run out, and then you guys are gonna get to see how much pulp is actually in the juice. All right, now let's go ahead and open this guy up. As you guys can see, the juice is flooding out of the Omega Vert there. Now we're gonna go ahead and open the floodgate here, the little juice tap on the Kuvings. Now, in general, I don't necessarily recommend you have the tap on. Let's go ahead and open that up and watch all the juice flood out. Now, definitely want to do close-ups on the little strainers there and show you guys on the Omega Vert side strainer. There's actually a little bit less pulp than on the Kuvings strainer. Let's go over the Kuvings strainer. There's the Kuvings strainer, and definitely has a fair bit more pulp than the Omega Vert. Let's go ahead and continue to juice more of these baby carrots in both machines. Alright, we're continuing to juice the carrots in both machines. Everything looks like it's working fairly well. I have had the Kuvings juicer stop twice on me. The Omega has actually not yet stopped by just feeding in a handful of carrots at a time. Now, some of the challenges with the vertical augers is that if you put big, large carrots with a fat diameter, or too many carrots in at once, it'll actually stop the machine. The machine just doesn't have the torque to spin up and cut those carrots up into small pieces. And this is normal, especially when overfeeding. So if this should happen too much to you, you might want to slow down in feeding the produce in the machine. Alright, it looks like we're on the last handful of the baby carrots for both machines here. Into the Kuvings, into the Omega Vert. It's very important when using the vertical single auger juicers is to let the machines run for a little while after you put that last produce item in to ensure you get the maximum yield. Much like you can't just put the last bite of pizza in your mouth and then swallow and you're done. You need to chew it up a little bit before swallowing and you can talk. Same thing with the juicers, the vertical juicers. You need to let them run a little while and let them fully extract the juice before you turn them off. So let's go ahead and turn the Kuvings off, turn the Omega Vert off. One of the things I like to do on both machines is actually tip the juicer up to see if we can get any last bits of juice that's sitting inside the machine. The Kuvings look like it actually didn't have any. Then we're going to go ahead and put the flap down so now we don't get drips on our countertop. With the Omega Vert, we could actually literally lift this up. They make it really easy to get all the juice out. Set that back down. I'm going to put the tap back in place so it's not going to drip. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do two things. Number one, we're going to weigh the pulp, because the weight of the pulp will determine how effective the juicer was at getting the juice out of the pulp. So the lighter the pulp, the better the juicer did. The more the pulp weighs, maybe the not quite as good the juicer did. So let's go ahead and get out these scales, and we're going to go ahead and zero them out, and we're going to weigh the pulp from both machines. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the two pulps here. Once again, we got the Omega Vert pulp right here. Dump that in. Got most all the pulp out of the collection container here. So as you guys can see, it's a 1.438, and we started with about what, 2.658, I think. Next, we got the Kuvings pulp going right in. Now I do want to say that depending on actually the produce item being juiced, you will get drier or wetter pulp. Actually, it appears that both these machines are actually doing quite well on the carrots. The pulp seems to be fairly dry. So over on the Kuvings, the pulp weighs 1.284. So what does this mean? That means if the pulp on the Kuvings juicer actually weighed less, that means it got more juice out. Let me go ahead and use my medical instruments here to pick up the pulp and squeeze it and see. Wow, that's actually fairly impressive actually. The Kuvings pulp is actually drier than the Omega Vert pulp. I guess the next test is actually to check the yield and see which juicer will reign supreme in this juice off. Let's go ahead and move these guys front and center to see the yields on each machine. So before we get into the yields, I want to show you guys the pulp generated with each machine. And this is the pulp generated on the Omega Vert juicer. You can see, you know, there definitely is some pulp in there, but if we look over on the Kuvings side, to me it looks like there's actually more pulp in the Kuvings strainer than in the Vert strainer. You know, not by much, but there definitely is more. Let's go ahead next and check the yields of both machines. So it looks like the Omega Vert made approximately 500 milliliters of juice, and over on the Kuvings it actually made 600 milliliters of juice. I'm actually looking at the back side, we got the milliliters, and you probably couldn't see that there on your side. On this side it looks like the Omega Vert made about 16 ounces of juice, and the Kuvings made approximately 2 1/4 cups of juice. So it looks like the Kuvings made about 1/4 cup more of juice, and that equates to about roughly 10% more. So the Kuvings made 10% more juice. So I guess the next thing I want to do is go ahead and try the juices. After sending it through the strainer, it's virtually pulp free. Actually, that's one thing I didn't talk about. The Omega Vert juicer does include an accessory strainer, and the Kuvings does not. Both of these juices taste great to me. Now to sum it up, you know, both these machines are pretty much the same. And we saw today when juicing only carrots, the Kuvings actually made 10% more. Now is 10% more of a yield the reason to go out and buy this machine? Well, you want to be sure to check my other videos for videos on this machine and see how it works when juicing other produce items. Just because it's better at juicing carrots doesn't mean it's going to be as good as the Vert or better than the Vert at juicing fruits or leafy greens, because every juicer's just a little bit different. So the other thing I want to mention is that the Kuvings juicer actually did stop twice. I tried to slow down my feeding of the carrots so that it wouldn't happen again, and I was successful. But if you're a little bit impatient, you know, that might not be the best thing, because it's going to stop a lot on you, and that might not be so good to happen. Another thing is I want to go over the warranties. The warranties actually on the Omega Vert is 15 years on the whole entire machine. On the Kuvings, actually it is 10 years. So 10 years is still definitely a long warranty, and definitely a good warranty. So the other thing I want to mention about is looking at the warranty and who will back up the warranty if you should have problems. Omega is probably one of the longest standing American-owned companies in the juicing business that's been in the United States for many, many, many years now. And I'm solid and confident that Omega will be around for many years to come. Kuvings, frankly, is a fairly new entry into the juicer market and does not have an established track record like the Omega brand name does. That being said, I'm actually quite impressed with Kuvings' latest model here, and I hope both companies actually further improve their models to, beat out each other next time. Because it's my job to just show you guys what happens, and it's my dream that now the VRT Omega company will see, oh, the Kuvings company beat us in the carrots, now we're going to make ours better, so then next time I test it, the Omega's going to win. And then Kuvings will see, oh, Omega VRT won last time, we're going to make ours better. And then that way, you guys, in the end result, are going to get a better quality machine that yields the most. So that being said, I want to encourage you guys to watch my other videos on YouTube to see how carrots are juiced in other juicers, and check out some of the other different brand juicers to see which one will truly be the right one for you. So with that, I do need to crown the winner of this juice off, and ding 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 ding! The Kuvings Silent Juicer wins this juice off. It made 10% more juice. And definitely yield's important, but I also want you to take other factors into consideration when buying a juicer as well. Be sure to check my other videos and subscribe to my YouTube channel for the latest updates on all the different juice offs, juicer comparisons coming out really soon. Once again, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors. Alright, this is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. We don't have a juicer for you today, or a blender, or a dehydrator. We have another great kitchen tool that I found at the last trade show in Chicago, the Housewares show, that I have an episode back on many months ago actually. And it's now finally here, and I'm so excited to share with you guys today. I mean, this is what's called a spiral slicer. Actually, this is called the Gifu Spiral Fix Spiral Slicer, and it's my #1 favorite spiral slicer.